Hello and welcome to the video tutorials for this year's ornaments. I'm just going to walk through some of the quick basics to start off with, and then if you've already watched this part of the video, you can skip to the actual video of the specific ornament being stitched. If this is your first time watching any of these videos, this is just the beginner's intro, so it's going to be the same for all 4 videos. So the first thing is your kit will come with all of your floss. If you got the kit of 4, you're going to come with these 4. And if you got the 12, you're going to have a bunch that will be used for all 12 designs. Your needle, there should be 2 in your pack. And then all of your designs, pending that you got the full kit. If you just got the wood only, you will have this in your instruction booklet. And that should be everything you need. Just a disclaimer, you can, for finishing the back, I'll be showing the instructions on how to finish the back of these. But it is sort of up to you how you decide. You can leave them blank like this, or you can cut out and trace the felt and glue it to the back to cover, or use another creative option for covering the back. The supplies for this one, you've got your floss, your needle, and your templates. The floss, you're going to follow the floss color guide and apply whichever color to where you want. You can always mix it up and change it however you want. This entire pattern uses 6 strands of floss. The only exception is these little French knots here. You're going to use 3 strands of the red and 3 strands of the white, and I'm going to show you really quickly how to do that actually in the tutorial for the stocking. So you'll see that right in there. Otherwise, a few things to note is when you're taking your floss from your bundle, you're always going to want to pull the floss from the end that has the number. It is designed to not tangle when you pull it out. If you pull the end that is over here, it's going to get into a tangled mess. So that's something to note. And then when you're pulling out your thread, you're going to use about an arm's length of thread. So you'll pull out and then I normally just pull my arm all the way out and then give it a little snip. Whoops, want to give it as clean of a line as possible so that when you're threading your needle, if you find that you struggle to thread a needle with 6 strands, you can split the floss, which is something we talk about when we're doing our one here. But for this case, if you struggle to thread it with all 6 strands, you can split your floss. One thing to split is just by pulling the ends, all the pieces will separate, and then divide it into 3s. You try to do it as naturally as possible, because when you pull them into the natural way they want to separate, it's easier to pull them out. This guy's gonna get in the way. But you're just gonna pull your thread till it's fully separated. And then this gives you 3 strands of your floss, and you can thread those 3 strands a little bit easier and then tie the ends together. And basically what you're doing is you're doubling up your thread. So by going like this, putting your strands together, you're still going to end up stitching with 6 strands. But you'd only have to thread 3 through the eye of the needle. So that is helpful if you struggle to thread your needle. And then for tying the end, I typically just do a couple of knots. For the first stitch you'll do on your ornaments, you're gonna wanna do a nice big knot at the end. So since I'm tying 3 strands, I'm actually gonna tie this like quite a few times. Just really make that knot as big as I possibly can, because as you pull this through, so I'm just going to use this as an example. This isn't the correct stitching method, but you're going to want to make that knot big enough so that it doesn't pull through the back. Since these knots are large enough for the needle and the thread to come through, they also means that your knot would pull through on just a regular knot. So you really want to focus on that. If you are stitching with it where there are stitches already created and you're starting a new strand, you don't have to do the larger knot. You can just do a standard knot. And then you just feed your thread underneath of already finished stitches, and then it'll hook onto there, and then you can start stitching in any spot without worrying whether your knot will come through. So that would be the trick for that. And then that's the same for when you're securing your stitches at the end of stitching. Once you've come up from the back and you're ready to finish and tie off this thread, you're just gonna put it through the back of your stitches wrapping it around at least one time until it creates a loop here. You're going to take your needle and go through the loop to create a knot. Typically just one time doing that is enough. If you are worried that it's going to come through, you can do 2, go through underneath the stitches twice and knot it 2 times. But there isn't a lot of wear and tear on these, so you shouldn't have to worry too much about that. And then obviously for threading 6 strands, you're just doing the same thing. You're just taking a full piece. So you can do it either way. You can do it over the method where I showed you, the folded over and tied together end method, or you can use all 6 strands and thread them. Just depends on how comfortable you are threading a needle. These needles are size 24 tapestry needles. These are designed for a size 24 tapestry needle to fit through of a John James needle. So every needle is a little bit different. If you are struggling with getting your needle through on, say, an area where maybe there's more than one stitch through the same hole, you might need to size down on your needle if you are purchasing your own supplies. So that would be for people who have purchased the wood only kit. Sorry, the last thing I was going to show you is if you're wanting to use a different type of knot, you can use just a knot where you've wrapped it around your finger and pulled it through. Or another option is the quilter's knot. So you can take your threaded needle and your end and put them horizontal to each other, lay that thread on top and pinch it with 2 fingers against the needle, wrap the thread a few times, push your needle through the pinched wrapped needle and pull it through, and you should create a knot. So 3 or 4 wraps of that should be enough. Trim your end, and then you can get started stitching. For the most part, that's everything you need to know. Any tips that I tell you on specific stitch will be told during the stitching. And I'm only going to show examples of the stitches once, like on a shirt, so that you don't feel like you might miss something if you don't decide to watch like a whole hour-long video of stitching the entire ornaments. So we will get into it, and we'll start on our first ornament right now. All right, so it is time to work on our snowflake star. This is going to be our finished product. You only need 2 colors for this one, and we're using 6 strands. So we're going to start with the white, or just use the white because that's really the only one we need. Or no, we need blue too, sorry. So we'll start with white, and I'm going to show you kind of the quick. I don't think we need a ton of explanation for how to do a straight stitch. So we're just going to thread the white. You can do the full 6 strands through your needle, or you can split them into a set of 3 and pull it through and fold it over like I showed you in the starter video, and then just pulling. This one's a quilter's knot, or you can do your knot however you'd like. So for this one, as you can see, all of the elements are white except for our lazy daisies. So I'm just going to do 1 row of the white so that we can work off of that to do our lazy daisies. I'm going to start I'm going to start up here because that hole gets used quite a bit and I don't want to go through it with my knot behind it. So for the beginning, you want your knot to be big enough that it doesn't pull through. And then you're just doing small stitches to connect the dots, essentially. You can see the lines from dot to dot. As long as you fill in each one of those, you've pretty much got it. I'm just gonna go, oops. You're gonna get hooked on this one quite a bit with all the little corners. Just going around and filling in all of these to each other. They're just a bunch of little short stitches coming up from the back down through the front, just like a regular straight stitch. And then for the, from this one, you're gonna go up to here, excuse me. And then from here, you'll go up to, I guess I have to go through here because I just went down through that one. So so you have to go, you're gonna do 1 long stitch, which will go over top, and then you'll use those holes for your lazy daisies. But we wanted to kind of cover and just do one nice long stitch there. You could do a bunch of short ones to the holes, but I just think it looked a little more seamless this way. So then for this, I went through the wrong hole. Just occurred to me. But I actually went to the wrong hole. I'm not sure why I did that. So this is just real life happening right here on the thing. I went through this bottom one when you actually to go all the way to the middle. So it should have been through this one and then down through that one. So don't be alarmed if this happens to you, because it will. So we're gonna go from the top, the center of the diamond, and then up. And I'm not sure why I didn't finish that one either. I'm gonna blame it on the sun's in my eyes. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, so there you have it. You're gonna do your straight stitches, one long stitch through that one, and then we'll move on to our lazy daisies. Securing the thread, which we've talked about before, it's just to run it underneath the other stitches. 1, 2, and then through the loop that it creates, getting caught on everything. There we go. And then we're gonna get our blue in 928 and do our lazy daisies. Okay, so we've got our light blue now on my needle, and you can, I mean, if it bothers you that this strand is here, you could always start with your lazy daisies, do all of them, and then stitch over. It doesn't really get in my way personally, but that would be something to consider if you feel like you might struggle to have that in the way. So you're gonna come up from that hole that's behind there, and then right back down through it. This is a lazy daisy, so you're gonna create almost like this loop here. I like to keep it on my thumb and hold it and kind of pinch it while I go up through the end of the lazy daisy. I loop it over and then pull down. This one, when you're stitching on wood, really is about the tension of the loop. So in this case, I like to pull it down so that the top of the loop is sitting right over the hole. If it is too wide and the tension is, there's too much slack, you're gonna end up, when you pull this down through, what is gonna end up happening is, I can kind of show you what will happen. You pull and it's gonna go straight through your hole. So mine kind of did that, but that's because I just yanked it. You don't need to pull that hard. The goal is to keep it kind of like that. So when you go down over it, it does create like a little anchor at the top to hold it in place. So we're going up through the hole at the bottom, back down through the same hole, creating a loop. I like to make my loop on my thumb, coming up through the top hole, looping it over, and then again, pulling it through. Another thing to note, so as you can see, like right now, it might be just, like if you want it to be wide, you could probably leave it like that. I'm gonna give it a tiny bit more of a tug just so that it's nice and secure. Another thing to note, if you come back down through and I hit this, oh, sorry, I'm out of frame. If I come back down through the hole when I'm anchoring it and I go through this strand that's there, it sometimes will nick it and it'll pull the whole thing down. So that's another thing to consider, trying to find a clear path through so that you're not nicking that thread that's already there. I like to sometimes put my finger on top of the loop to just support it, kind of like protect it a little bit. And then there you go. So these are, I think people do typically can have a little bit of trouble with them. I think some of the biggest things to consider are tension. So pulling, again, it's sort of like the French knots. You want to pull slowly, really like take your time on them. Oops, I'm hooked. The more you rush, the more you're gonna probably end up with something that looks messy. So this ornament definitely is one of the simpler ones. It can be done pretty quickly. You're just following those 2 stitches. So you can follow the tutorial on how to finish the back, or you can just leave it like this, get it up on the tree. Okay, so for backing your ornaments, you can leave them finished. Or you can add something like felt or cardboard or something else you want to add to the back. So basically my suggestion for doing this is to trace it out. In past years, we have, I have included the felt, just be careful of your stitches there. I've included the felt, but I found that a lot of people use their own color, they use other methods. So for this year, we just went with, you guys can use your own creative. So you don't need to actually do the loop there. So I'm just gonna go like that. It's not complicated. You can do it however you'd like. These scissors are not made for cutting, but I would cut on the inside of this line by about 1/8 of an inch. Oops, because we don't want the felt to show from the back, or from the front, sorry. You're supposed to be finishing it the most seamless knot. So then I'm just gonna take that, and you can either hot glue it, or you can glue it with a glue gun, whichever you prefer. I did suggest last year even adding like a little note on the back, or writing 2024, or like Merry Christmas. Just adding like a little message on the back is really nice before gluing them on, depending if it's a gift or not. So there's lots of fun ways that you can make this special, but basically my suggestion is to glue a little felt on the back, and they're all finished. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed making these, and I can't wait to see them. Please tag me on your social media because I would love to see them, or just send me pictures if you want. I love seeing them.